The bridge of the Stellar Dawn buzzed with controlled chaos. The Vraath fleet was on the move again, and this time there was no retreat. Alya stood at the center of it all, her mind sharp despite the weight of the artifact's influence. Every breath she took felt heavier, each pulse of the artifact like a drumbeat in her skull, but she couldn't afford to falter now. The Vraath were coming, and they wouldn't stop until the alliance was shattered. "Captain, we've detected over 50 Dreadnought-class ships moving in formation," Thane said, his voice tense as he studied the tactical display. "They're coming straight for us, and their fighters are flanking the rest of the fleet." Alya nodded, her eyes locked on the view screen. The Vraath ships were closing in fast, their dark, angular hulls glinting ominously against the black void of space. It was a terrifying sight. An unstoppable wall of destruction headed their way. But Alya had faced worse. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered, her voice steady. "We'll hit them from the flanks, same as before. Coordinate with the rest of the fleet. Don't let them pin us down." Thane nodded, relaying her orders to the rest of the fleet. The Alliance ships, still battered from the last encounter, moved into defensive formations, their engines flaring as they prepared to engage. Mercenary vessels, rebel fighters, and planetary defense cruisers formed a loose perimeter around the Stellar Dawn, their weapons systems primed and ready. Mira appeared at Alya's side, her face lined with concern. "Captain, the artifact's readings have spiked again. It's reacting to the Vraath fleet, but I'm also picking up something else, something in the background." Alya's heart quickened. "What is it?" Mira shook her head. "I'm not sure. It's faint, but it feels familiar. Almost like another signal, overlapping with the artifact's energy. It's coming from outside the Vraath fleet, deeper into space." Alya's brow furrowed. Another signal? Could it be a Vraath weapon, or something else entirely? The artifact had been growing more active with each passing day, but this was different. This felt deliberate, as if something or someone was watching them from the shadows. "Keep an eye on it," Alya said, her mind racing. "If the readings change, I want to know immediately." Mira nodded and hurried back to her station, leaving Alya to face the incoming battle. The weight of the situation pressed down on her, but she couldn't afford to think about the artifact or the strange signal now. The Vraath were her priority. "They're closing in, Captain," Thane said, his voice tight. "We've got 30 seconds before they're in firing range." Alya took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing as the Vraath ships loomed closer on the view screen. This was it. The moment that would decide the fate of the Alliance, maybe even the galaxy. "Open fire," Alya ordered. The Stellar Dawn's main cannons roared to life, blue energy beams slicing through the void and tearing into the Vraath fleet. Explosions erupted as the Alliance ships opened fire, their weapons cutting through the Vraath fighters like knives through fabric. But the Vraath didn't falter. They surged forward, their dreadnoughts unleashing torrents of plasma fire that streaked across space, slamming into the Alliance ships with brutal force. Alya braced herself as the Stellar Dawn shuddered under the impact of the Vraath's return fire. The shields flared, struggling to hold under the onslaught, but they held. For now. "Shields at 60%, Thane called out, his hands moving rapidly across the controls. "We can't take too many more hits like that." "Keep us moving," Alya ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. "We need to stay ahead of their main cannons. Focus on the smaller ships first, disrupt their formation." The Stellar Dawn banked hard, engines flaring as it veered away from the incoming plasma fire. The Alliance fleet followed suit, darting that in and out of the Vraath's attack lines, picking off fighters and smaller cruisers with precision strikes. But for every Vraath ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Alya clenched her fists, frustration gnawing at her. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and the Vraath's sheer numbers were overwhelming. This wasn't a battle they could win through brute force. They needed to outthink the Vraath, outmaneuver them. "Captain," Mira's voice cut through the tension, her tone urgent. "The signal, it's changed. It's getting stronger, and it's coming from the center of the Vraath fleet." Alya's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" Mira's eyes were wide as she stared at the data on her screen. "It's not just a signal, it's a beacon. The artifact is reacting to it, like it's being drawn to whatever's out there." Alya's mind raced. "A beacon? That could mean only one thing. Something powerful, something ancient, was in the heart of the Vraath fleet, and the artifact wanted it. "Can we pinpoint the source of the signal?" Alya asked, her voice sharp. Mira hesitated, then nodded. "I've narrowed it down to one of the Vraath dreadnoughts. It's heavily shielded, but I can get you the exact coordinates." Alya's heart pounded. This was it. Whatever the Vraath were hiding in the center of their fleet, it was connected to the artifact, and it could be the key to ending this war. "Thane," Alya said, turning to her tactical officer. "Plot a course for that dreadnought. We're going in." Thane's eyes widened in surprise. "Captain, that's suicide. We won't make it through the fleet." "We don't have a choice," Alya said firmly. "If we don't take out whatever's broadcasting that signal, we're finished." Thane hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Aye, Captain." The Stellar Dawn veered sharply, engines flaring as it cut through the heart of the battle, heading straight for the center of the Vraath fleet. The Alliance ships provided covering fire, doing their best to keep the Vraath's larger dreadnoughts occupied, but Alya knew they couldn't hold out for long. "Captain, enemy fighters inbound," Thane called out, his hands flying over the controls. "They're trying to box us in." Alya's gaze hardened. Divert power to forward shields. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. The Stellar Dawn darted through the incoming fighters, its weapons systems firing rapidly to clear a path. Explosions flared on all sides as the Vraath ships closed in, but Alya kept her focus on the prize, the dreadnought at the center of it all, the one broadcasting the strange signal. As they neared the dreadnought, Alya could feel the artifact pulsing faster, its energy growing stronger with every passing second. It was as if the artifact was being drawn to the source of the signal, like a moth to a flame. "Captain, we're in range," Mira said, her voice tense. "I'm picking up massive energy readings from the dreadnought. Whatever's inside, it's powerful." Alya's jaw tightened. "Bring us in closer. Prepare to board." Thane shot her a look of disbelief. "Board? You want to board a Vraath dreadnought?" "We need to know what's in there," Alya said, her eyes fixed on the massive ship looming ahead. "Whatever it is, it's connected to the artifact, and it might be the only way to stop this." Thane hesitated, then nodded, his face set with determination. "Aye, Captain." The Stellar Dawn closed in on the Vraath dreadnought, its engines flaring as it moved into docking position. Alya could feel the tension in the air, the weight of what was to come pressing down on her. This wasn't just another battle. This was the moment that could change everything. The docking clamps engaged with a heavy clang, and the airlock hissed open, revealing the cold, metallic corridors of the Vraath ship. Alya stepped through the hatch, her hand tight on her weapon, her mind focused. Thane, Mira, and a team of elite soldiers followed close behind, their weapons drawn as they moved through the dark, ominous hallways of the dreadnought. The air was thick with tension, every step echoing ominously in the silent ship. "This place feels wrong," Mira whispered, her voice barely audible. "There's something off about it." Alya could feel it too. The artifact's pulse was stronger than ever, its energy coursing through her like a living thing. Whatever was at the heart of this ship, it was powerful, ancient, and dangerous. They moved quickly through the ship, guided by Mira's scanner, which tracked the source of the beacon. Every step brought them closer to the center of the dreadnought, to the heart of the signal. Finally, they reached a massive set of doors, sealed shut with thick, reinforced metal. "This is it," Mira said, her voice tense. "The signal's coming from inside." Alya stepped forward, her heart racing. She could feel the artifact pulsing in her hand, as if urging her to open the doors, to see what lay beyond. With a deep breath, Alya placed her hand on the control panel, and the doors slid open with a hiss. Inside, the room was dark, illuminated only by the faint glow of a massive, glowing crystal suspended in the center of the chamber. It pulsed with energy, the same energy as the artifact. Alya's breath caught in her throat. It's another artifact," Mira whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. But this one was different. It was larger, more powerful, and as Alya stepped closer, she could feel its presence in her mind, stronger than anything she had ever felt before. The artifact in her hand flared to life, its glow matching the crystals, and suddenly, Alya understood. This wasn't just another artifact. This was the source of the signal, the heart of the Vraath's power, and it was waiting for her. Alya stared at the massive crystal suspended in the center of the Vraath dreadnought's chamber. It pulsed with energy, an eerie, slow rhythm that mirrored the artifact's glow in her hand. The room was filled with a low hum, the sound of power that seemed to vibrate through the walls, through the very air. It was as if the ship itself was alive, and this crystal was its beating heart. "This is what we've been looking for," Mira whispered, her voice full of awe. "It's another artifact, but different." Alya stepped forward cautiously, her hand tightening on the artifact she carried. "What is it doing here? Why would the Vraath have something like this?" Mira's eyes scanned the readings from her handheld device. The energy signatures are off the charts. This thing, it's been dormant for centuries, but it's active now, and it's sending out the signal we've been tracking. It's almost like it's calling. Alya's stomach tightened. The artifact in her hand pulsed in response to the crystal, a soft, insistent hum that seemed to resonate with it. She had felt this connection before, the pull of the artifact, the way it guided her, whispered to her. But this was different. This crystal was far more powerful, and the pull was stronger. She took another step forward, and the crystal flared, its light intensifying. "Captain," Thane said sharply, his weapon raised. "I don't like this. We don't know what that thing can do." Alya nodded, but she couldn't take her eyes off the crystal. There was something about it, something that felt familiar, as if it had been waiting for her. The artifact in her hand pulsed again, and she felt a surge of energy course through her, pulling her closer to the crystal. Mira's voice was barely a whisper. "It's reacting to you, Captain. The artifact, it's like they're connected." Alya stopped just a few feet from the crystal, the energy in the room crackling around her. She could feel it in the air, in her bones, a sense of immense, ancient power. It was overwhelming, intoxicating, and dangerous. Before Alya could say anything, the comms crackled to life, and a cold, familiar voice filled the chamber. "Ah, Captain Trent," Commander Zale's voice hissed over the comms. "I see you found the heart of our little operation. Impressive, but you're too late." Alya's heart raced. "Zale." The Vraath commander's face appeared on the view screen, his sharp features twisted into a cruel smile. "You've been quite the nuisance, Captain, but your little rebellion ends here. That crystal you're so fascinated by? It's the source of the power that will crush your alliance and burn your worlds to ash." Alya's grip tightened on the artifact. "You don't know what you're dealing with, Zale. This power will destroy you." Zale laughed, the sound cold and hollow. "I think not. You see, this crystal, this artifact, is not just a weapon. It is a key to unlocking the true potential of the Vraath Empire, and with it, we will become gods." Alya's blood ran cold. "Gods, Zale, you're insane. This power isn't meant to be controlled." "Control?" Zale's eyes gleamed with madness. "We don't need to control it. We simply need to wield it. And once the Vraath have harnessed this power, there will be no more war, no more resistance, only submission." The view screen flickered, and Zale's smile widened. "But you won't live to see that, Captain. Your alliance will fall, and you will die here, in the heart of our greatest weapon." The comms cut off, and the room fell into an eerie silence. Alya's heart pounded as she stared at the crystal. Zale was planning to use it as a weapon to wipe out the alliance and enslave the galaxy, and she was standing in the middle of it. "We need to shut this thing down," Thane said, his voice tense. "Now, before Zale activates whatever plan he's got." Alya nodded, but her mind raced. How could they shut it down? The artifact in her hand was connected to the crystal. She could feel that much. But the crystal's power was immense, far greater than anything she had encountered before. "I can feel it," Alya said quietly. "The artifact is linked to the crystal. There's a way to stop it, but I don't know how." Mira's eyes widened. "You think the artifact can shut it down?" Alya hesitated, her gaze locked on the glowing crystal. "I think so. But it's risky. If I try to use the artifact to disrupt the crystal's energy, it could backfire." Thane shook his head. "We don't have a choice. Captain, if we don't stop this thing, Zale's going to turn it against us." Alya knew he was right. There was no time to think, no time to plan. Zale was preparing to unleash the full power of the crystal, and if they didn't stop him, the alliance would be doomed. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "All right. Let's do this." Alya stepped forward, her hand tightening around the artifact as she reached out toward the crystal. The energy in the room intensified, crackling with power as the artifact's light grew brighter, merging with the glow of the crystal. Mira's voice was tense. "Be careful, Captain." Alya nodded, focusing all her energy on the artifact. She could feel the connection between the two objects, the way they resonated with each other. The crystal pulsed in response to the artifact, its energy surging through the room. And then Alya felt it, a surge of power, flowing from the crystal into the artifact, and then into her. It was overwhelming, a flood of energy that nearly knocked her off her feet. The whispers in her mind grew louder, almost deafening. But she held on. The artifact's energy merged with the crystal's, and for a moment, everything was still. The room was filled with a blinding light, and Alya felt the power of the crystal surging through her, flowing into her mind, her body. It was too much, too strong. She could feel herself being pulled into the energy, consumed by it. And then she heard the voice. "You are the chosen." Alya's eyes snapped open, her heart racing. The voice wasn't coming from the artifact or the crystal. It was something else, something deeper. "You are the key." The light intensified, and Alya felt the crystal's energy shifting, bending to her will. She could feel the power of the ancient forces that had created the crystal, the same forces that had created the artifact. They were connected, part of a larger whole, and she was part of it. With a surge of determination, Alya focused all her energy on the artifact, pushing the crystal's power back, forcing it to shut down. The crystal flared one last time, and then its light faded. The room fell into darkness, the hum of power disappearing. Alya staggered back, her body trembling with exhaustion. The artifact in her hand was still glowing faintly, but the connection to the crystal had been severed. The room was silent, the threat neutralized. "It's over," Alya whispered, her voice shaky. Thane and Mira rushed to her side, their faces filled with relief. "You did it," Mira said, her voice full of awe. "You shut it down." Alya nodded, but her mind was still spinning. The voice she had heard, the ancient presence that had spoken to her, it was still there, lingering in the back of her mind. The crystal and the artifact were part of something much larger, something far more dangerous than she had realized. And it wasn't over. "Captain," Thane said, his voice cutting through her thoughts. "We need to get out of here. The Vraath fleet is still out there." Alya took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Right, let's get back to the Stellar Dawn." As they made their way back through the Dreadnought's corridors, Alya couldn't shake the feeling that the crystal was only the beginning. The artifact had chosen her for a reason, but she still didn't fully understand why. But one thing was clear. The Vraath weren't the only threat, and the real war was only just beginning.